On behalf of the entire program committee, I'd like to thank you for attending this year's sprint session. This session started over 11 years ago as an educational session. Every year we hear that delegates who attended left feeling inspired and motivated by all they heard from their peers. And now here we are bringing this program to you on the big stage for yet another year.
Every year, we look across our membership to identify and bring together some of the best speakers in our community to share personal stories and their passions and interests. They use the Pecha Kucha style of 20 slides and 20 seconds per slide for a total of 6 minutes and 40 seconds. This dynamic method allows them to deliver their stories in a really powerful way.
This year will be no different, as we have 6 incredible speakers who have amazing stories to tell. Amanda and I will do a brief introduction before each speaker to give you an idea of who they are and what they will be speaking about. Your job will be to make them feel welcome and supported, so be prepared to be inspired.
Our first presenter, Darnell L. Pierce, is the Vice President of Partner Accounts at Dorm Room Movers, where he leads national strategy around partner engagement and client success. Before joining Dorm Room Movers, Darnell spent nearly 20 years in residence life and housing profession, including serving as the Assistant Dean of Students. A proud Army veteran, Darnell brings a deeply rooted commitment to service, leadership, and student support. He is also a proud Regional Entry-Level Institute alumnus, having participated as a student in 2012 and returning as a faculty member in both 2016 and 2024. Outside of work, Darnell enjoys tennis, running, fitness, and the world of drag pageantry. He is also a proud dog dad to the world's most well-behaved Chihuahua, Nova. When considering his sprint session, Darnell was inspired by the famous hockey quote, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." Today, Darnell is eager to talk to you about the shots he took, and some that he didn't, that helped make him the person he is today. Please join me in welcoming Darnell Pierce to the stage.
What is for you will not pass you by, and what passes you by is not for you. So take advantage of your opportunities. You can never make a shot that you don't take. Simply put, apply for that job you don't think you're ready for. Sit at that table that you're not ready to sit at. You're ready, you're much more ready than you think. My friend, my confidant, and my mommy taught me the most invaluable lesson I've learned. She taught me to be scrappy and fight for what I want, no matter how impossible the dream may be. A woman with just a 10th grade education is by far one of my greatest teachers. Looking back at little Quan, I often think if Darnell would be someone he would look up to. I've taken my shots. I've missed some, and I've slam dunked others. Slam dunk, of course, is a metaphor, because let's be clear, at 5'6", it's giving, go for the layup. From a very young age, all I wanted to do was dance. I would dance every chance I got, in the living room for family guests, at family reunions, at cookouts, or for anybody that would watch. What I now know is that little Quan is responsible for the courage that you see before you today. I put everything on the line, and like many of the students that you serve, they're scared, they're excited, and if some of your students are like me, they're courageous. They have to worry about where to find a barbershop to get their hair cut. They have to worry about what jobs pay the most on campus because shit is still real at home. But they show up anyway. As a campus administrator, I learned a long time ago that part of my job was to be a mentor, a friend, a big brother, and even a father figure. My RA, my RD, and my VP were all more than just school associates. They became family who passed the baton of knowledge so I can do it in my own way. Speaking of passing the baton, my friend and high school athlete, Romaniki Jacinto's brutal murder taught me that life isn't always a marathon. Sometimes it is a short sprint, so take your shots. I remember it like it was yesterday. I walked up to the smell of Auntie Anne's cinnamon pretzels, asked the manager if they were hiring. I would spend 11 years as the Auntie Anne's pretzel boy. I almost made a career making dough. I don't mean money. But I wasn't supposed to be a pretzel-making superstar, so I ended up at the college at Brockport. I say ended up because I don't really remember applying to Brockport. I never visited the campus. And like many of your students that you serve, when I got to Brockport, I realized for the very first time that I was poor. And when I say poor, I mean poor. Puh, I couldn't even afford the O or the R. Despite the odds stacked up against this young, capable man who happened to be both black and gay, I became an RA, president of the Brockport Student Government, and yes, I sure did win Programmer of the Year as an RA. I thrived at Brockport because of administrators like you in this room. Walking across the stage felt like winning the lottery. I remember my first interview for an area coordinator position at Hobart and William Smith Colleges in the beautiful Finger Lakes, having only my RA experience to draw from. Dr. Kate McCaffrey saw something in me, and she gave me an opportunity. I encourage all of you to give your students an opportunity when they don't seem as ready. They may surprise you. When I worked at the towers at CCNY, I met a team of professionals who would become like family, and as family does, they give you nicknames. My colleague Atia, in her thick Caribbean accent, would say, "Salt." And I said, "Atia, what does salt mean?" She said, "You just like salt, you in everything." And she was right. I tried everything. And competing in amateur bodybuilding was no different. I didn't know the first thing about bodybuilding, but I was inspired by a female friend who I saw compete. And over the next 5 years, I would compete and earn my professional bodybuilding card. You can't tell from this sparkly shirt, but it's true. I took my shot and it was worth it. There's not enough time to talk about the absence of my father in my life, although we have an okay relationship now. I joined the Army in part because he would finally see me, value me, and be proud of me. The lessons from the military were many, but the one I lean on most is be ready to be ready. And here's that well-behaved dog daughter, Nova, who became my world. I don't even like small dogs, but she's serving a much different purpose. My youngest sister passed away of cancer 2 years ago and has the same exact black chihuahua. Her name is Peppa. I learned from my sister's passing to do what you say you're going to do and to show up. Kiki, I promise to find time to have a cackle every now and then. I encourage each of you to have a cackle a day. Kiki, I love you. Drag has been a part of my life since 2004. And no, I don't do drag, because Darnell in a dress is definitely not it. However, I created a drag pageant in the Finger Lakes because LGBTQIA resources wasn't a thing in the Finger Lakes. And as you all know, when something doesn't exist, we have to create it. And 10 years later, I still don't look good in a dress, but my queen sure does. I've been traveling back and forth to Chicago since 2006 to visit my best friend, and she's been telling me all these years that I'm gonna end up in Chicago. And I rebuked that because coming from New York, I was not gonna be moving to another cold state. In about a few months, I'll be moving to Chicago to spend time and perhaps my life with the person I'll probably marry. Going to college, I never expected to gain a sister from another mister, let alone two. I've often heard that campus home life feels like a family reunion because I, too, have met colleagues who feel like family. And I bet you all have, too.
Our second presenter, Bess Liebenberg, is a seasoned student affairs professional with over 17 years of leadership in higher education. As manager of student support and leadership development at the University of Pretoria, she champions student well-being through counseling, support services, and leadership development. A respected voice in the global student housing community, she has served as Globalization Director for the ACUHO-I Executive Board and currently represents South Africa as an ACUHO-I ambassador. Her longstanding contributions to ACUHO-I South Africa chapter include leadership roles in the Rolf Weiser Student Housing Training Institute. Bess is also the visionary behind impactful initiatives such as the Global Housing Training Institute, the Global Initiatives Network, and the South African Women in Housing Symposium. Her leadership in organizing international conferences and training programs has fostered collaboration, capacity building, and inclusive professional development across borders. In 2024, she was inducted into the ACUHO-I Parthenon Society, the association's highest honor, recognizing her lifelong commitment to student development and the global advancement of the profession. Her sprint talk, What I Thought I Knew and What I Learned Instead, reflects a deeply personal and professional journey of growth, sparked by a single student interaction that reshaped her leadership philosophy from control to connection.
I thought success meant being in control. Control of people, of situations and outcomes. If things were neat, according to plan, I believed I was doing it right. I grew up in a conservative white family during apartheid, where children were seen and not heard. You followed orders, and that made you good. I learned early that obedience earned approval, and that leadership meant having all the answers. That belief system deepened when I joined the South African Army Women's College. There, discipline ruled. Routine meant safety, and obedience wasn't just expected, it was celebrated. And for the first time, I felt I had a voice, a kind of power through structure. I believed fairness through structure. Wrongs should be punished. Certainty meant strength. And I didn't question the rules. I enforced them. And I thought that made me a leader. I acted quickly, was always ready with an answer. But you see, growth doesn't work like that. Growth is slow, uncertain, and uncomfortable. I didn't see that yet. I was sprinting when I needed to be still. After school, I went to varsity, and I failed. I miserably failed. And I didn't know how to handle it. So I ran off to the military. It gave me structure, but also, without a doubt, planted some seeds of thinking a different way. Now, at the University of Pretoria, years later, working in student housing, I received a call. A student had locked himself in his room and he refused to come out or speak to anyone. And something in me said, I need to go. I opened the door and I found him there, curled up in the corner on the floor, silent and terrified. He was just 18 years old and the first in his family to come to university. Suddenly, none of my training seemed relevant. We sat for hours in silence, no eye contact. And between his broken English and my attempt at comfort, in a heavy, heavy silence, we found something deeper than words. We found humanity. That day, I saw something I hadn't seen before. You see, the systems I believe in, the ones I upheld, were never made for him or for students like him. I had been blind to his world and to my privilege. I felt ashamed and then determined. I realized I had been part of the problem. It wasn't him who needed to adapt, no. It was me who needed to change. And that moment cracked me open. I moved from risk manager to student support. Not a job change, a mindset shift. I stopped leading with policy and started leading with a presence. From enforcing to listening, and from punishment to protection. I began to ask more, listen longer, realizing students weren't problems to fix. They were people trying to find their way, just like I had. Real leadership, I learned later, isn't about control. It's about courage. The courage to be wrong, to learn, to show up, not with answers, but with empathy. And that changed everything. Now, I believe success is not about being right. It's about being real. It's about compassion, humility, and making space for stories other than your own. That's the kind of leader I want to be. That ship rippled through everything. I now lead teams differently. I mentor with more care. I pause more. And I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to be willing to ask better questions. Today, I build spaces where voices are heard, where power is shared, where difference is not just tolerated, but honored, and where being vulnerable is a strength, not a liability. I'm no longer the person who always needs to be right. I am the person who chooses to be present, to stay curious, to learn from everyone, every colleague, every student. I'm so grateful to ACUHO-I and all of you who have held up a mirror. You have helped me unbecome what I thought I had to be. So here is my question to you. What is something you think you know, and what would it take if you let it go? What I thought I knew nearly cost me what I needed to learn. You see, growth starts with a question, not with an answer. We stay curious, we create space for others and for ourselves. Thank you.
Bess is getting me in my feels. All right. Our third presenter, Dr. Megan Becker, currently serves as the Executive Director of Residential Life and Housing at Virginia Commonwealth University. Megan has served in a variety of professional roles at both Western Illinois University and VCU. She has dedicated her time, energy, and wisdom to countless professionals throughout mentorship and involvement in regional associations such as ACUHO and ACUHO, as well as her work with ACUHO-I. In addition to her work professionally, Megan volunteers her time with the National CMV Foundation and the VCU Family Navigator Program. Megan holds many roles in her life: daughter, friend, wife, mother to Charlie and Aiden, advocate, leader, mentor, and friend, to name a few, probably to many of you in this room. She loves photography, amateur design, interior design specifically, and spending time at the lake with her family. In each of these roles and passion areas, Megan has experienced great joy, but there has also been moments of hardship. For Megan, these hardships have taken many forms. Throughout her journey, there have been moments of immense challenge, deep understanding, and personal growth. Today, Megan is excited to share her journey and the ways in which she learned that everyone's hard is different.
We all struggle, so how can we learn to see the invisible weight others may carry? And how can we not subscribe to saying we are fine when we might actually be freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional? Everyone's hard is different, and today I'm here to tell you I'm not fine and to talk about my hard. We often only see the surface or the highlight reels, the smiles and achievements, but underneath, there's usually more going on. Most often, I'm Megan, Dr. B, boss lady, mom, and wife, but I'm also a motherless daughter, an IVF warrior, a CMV advocate, and a mom to a special needs kiddo. Hard won. Losing my mom was by far the hardest thing I have ever gone through in my life. Losing her was freaking hard, and learning how to live without her continues to be even harder. It hurts every single day. She was my person, and I no longer had her to turn to. My mom always made everything better. Sometimes it was a listening ear, a hug, or a quick piece of advice. When stressed, I always called my mom, and she could no longer pick up the phone. I admitted I wasn't fine, and I reclaimed my heart by seeking out therapy. I was now in the Dead Moms Club, and it's a club that no one ever wants to join. I had to develop a new identity of being a motherless daughter. I was in my early 30s when my mother died, and I often would ask myself as I navigated trying to get pregnant, how could I be a mom one day without my mom? Hard number 2, I'm a high achiever, and making babies was something I was unable to do. Advice like, it will happen when it's meant to be, or just try to eliminate stress, were hard to hear after losing my mom. So after trying to start a family for over 3 years, I owned this hard and sought professional help from a fertility clinic. Fertility treatments were expensive, embarrassing, and really stinking hard, both physically and emotionally. COVID made it even harder. My husband waited in the car while I did all of the appointments, procedures, and transfers alone. I had to navigate the first year of the pandemic, hyped up on extra hormones. Being home with my daughter for 6 months was a gift, but I didn't know what I was doing, and there were so many times that I wanted to call my mom. I envy those that had that special moment with their moms after having a baby. I'll never get to take that 3-generation photo with my children and my mother. I went back to work after 6 months and had to manage all of the emotions about my department surviving without me. Questions like, am I needed or valued anymore, began to creep into my mind. I was breastfeeding and had to utilize every break I had possible to pump. I missed opportunities to catch up with colleagues. Reintegrating myself back into work was hard. Fast forward 6 months and the impossible happened. I was pregnant again, naturally. I had so much guilt. I had just begun to acclimate to my new working mom identity, but being pregnant really didn't align with organizing move-in and, planning for ACUHO 2023. Hard 3. My son Aiden was born 9 days early. He was born quickly and, to top it off, naturally and unmedicated, which was really, really hard. Aiden appeared to us to be healthy, but little did we know he was very, very sick. I was in newborn mom bliss, and my heart sank when Aiden failed his hearing tests. Within 1 week of Aiden being born, we learned that he had congenital cytomegalovirus, more often referred to as CMV. I had no clue what that was and was thrust into endless appointments with 14 specialists in his first month of life. Let me be clear, he was not okay, and I was not fine. 2 days before Christmas, I took Aiden to the ER because he was having difficulty breathing and throwing up. It was determined he had RSV and a slew of other viruses. My heart ached as I was unable to be with my daughter while she opened presents, but I was also so scared for Aiden's health. Aiden spent the next 6 weeks in and out of the hospital for a total of 17 nights. My husband had to go back to work, which meant I was alone in the hospital. I tried to do it all. I needed to keep up with pumping, comfort a sick baby, show my toddler that I still loved her, while also keeping the ACUHO 23 conference moving, and while Aiden was trying to get better. I returned to work after 5 months and was a complete mess. I had just hosted ACUHO 23 in a haze, and I was still reeling from not knowing what was happening with my child. Could he hear? Could he not hear? I had officially been diagnosed with postpartum anxiety, so I accepted this hard and sought out support from another CMV family. Getting involved in CMV advocacy has been my lifeline, while I continue to battle every day to ensure Aiden has the best shot at a healthy and successful life. I want more people to know what CMV stands for and how to prevent it. I'm hoping that one day this nasty virus no longer makes other people's lives hard. Well, I feel a gaping hole because my mother's no longer here with me. I'm beginning to see my mother's smile emerge from my daughter's face every time she laughs. I hear my mother's wisdom as I navigate parenting, and I feel my mother's love every time my son leaps into my arms for a hug. So, why do I share hard times like this one, trying to keep hearing aids on a baby? Because empathy doesn't require similarity. You don't need to understand someone's hard to care about it. People showed up for me. Gift cards, food deliveries, handmade baby blankets were sent every time I faced a new hard thing. I urge you to show up for your people when they experience their hard things. I'm smiling in most of these pictures. We learn to say, I'm fine, even when we're not. You never know when what someone might be going through, and they may appear okay. I could have stepped up or stepped away from these hard moments, but connections in and outside this room reminded me that I matter, and it's important to share your hard. We hide our hard because we're afraid of judgment or burdening others. Before you answer the question of how are you with the response fine, I challenge you to dig deeper and be honest. Remember, your heart is valid and so is everyone else's. Let's stop comparing and start connecting because everyone's heart is different.
Dr. ACUHO-I serves as the Assistant Dean and Director of Community Living at the University of San Francisco. She holds degrees from Illinois State University and Iowa State University and has dedicated over 20 years to the field of student affairs. Throughout her career, Dr. Holmes has made impactful contributions to the profession. She was a founding member and past editorial board member of the Journal of Critical Thought and Praxis. She has also served on the editorial board for the journal committed to social change on race and ethnicity. A respected educator and leader, Dr. Holmes has served as a content expert and faculty member for the National Housing Training Institute and as a mentor in the ACUHO-I Leadership Academy. She currently serves on the Leadership Council for the American College Personnel Association and is convention chair for ACPA 26. In addition, she remains an active member of the National Association of Student Administrators and the Western Association of College and University Housing Officers. What you might not know about Aja is that she is an avid reader. Her love of books and reading started early, spending afternoons at Borders reading books and reorganizing shelves before she was old enough to hold a part-time job. Books have been a passion area for Aja her entire life and now represent her greatest form of self-care. Outside of her work in student affairs, Aja has been an active member in the Go On Girl book club since 2006. Aja now serves on their board of directors, attending events across the country, and even serving as their MC for their awards at their national conferences for the past 2 years. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Aja Holmes to the stage to discuss self-care through the love of reading.
Today, I'm sharing how reading, especially within community, has always been a radical form of self-care for me. My love for books started in childhood, often spilling into my imaginary classroom where I played school and often read aloud with my little brother, much to his annoyance. So, what really is self-care? More than bubble baths and manicures, trust me, I do love a good manicure. But for me, self-care is getting lost in a good book. It's quiet, sustaining, soul deep. And yes, believe it or not, Dr. Aja can be quiet. Stories provide escape, empathy, and perspective, 3 things that heal the inner self. When I read, I'm not just entertained, I am transported. I can feel what others feel, imagine lives beyond my own, and reflect on my own experiences with fresh eyes. Reading has always been a way to exhale, reset, and feel grounded again. Growing up, books were my sanctuary. When the world felt overwhelming or confusing, I would always turn to a story. They gave me permission to dream, to reflect on who I was becoming, and to believe in something more. Books didn't just entertain me, they helped me make sense of life. Then, in 2006, I found Go On Girl Book Club. It gave me so much more than just reading lists. It gave me a sisterhood rooted in Black womanhood. It's a space where literature becomes a bridge between the lived experience and the shared wisdom. And Go On Girl, reading isn't just an activity, it's a joyful act of self-care and a collective celebration. Reading about characters who look like you, live like you, and love like you is deeply validating. It's a reminder that your story matters, that your experiences are worthy of being seen, honored, and held. That kind of recognition is healing. It's affirming your existence in a world that often tries to make you invisible, and that in itself is powerful. Our monthly book club discussions have become a joyful ritual, something I look forward to, something that grounds me. They anchor me in community and spark creativity. It's not just about books, it's about the laughter, the insight, the connections. In a world that often moves in fast pace, it slows me down. In a world that's constantly rushing emails and deadlines and group chats, reading invites me to slow down. It forces me to pause, to focus, to breathe. When I open a book, everything else fades. It's just me, the world, the words, and stillness. I often don't get anywhere else. Books teach us more than stories. They teach us how to feel, build empathy. By letting us step into someone else's shoes, they give us emotional language that we might not have had before. They're powerful because that we can name what we feel, process, manage it, and share it with others. In Go On Girl Book Club, we read stories that seize us. Stories that reflect our experiences, our family struggles, our joy. There's something sacred about reading a book and thinking, that's me, that's my story. It's just validation. It's not just validation, it's affirmation. These books, for Black women, reading has always been more than a pastime. It's been a revolutionary act. Through reading, we've learned when we weren't supposed to, healed when the world tried to break us, and survived by imagining something more. Books have been our resistance, our refuge, and our reminder that our minds are powerful beyond measure. Creating a reading life is like building your own personal sanctuary. It's a space that offers comfort, reflection, and escape without needing to leave your home. The books in your shelf become companions, mentors, and mirrors. They nourish not just your mind, but your spirit. Even just 15 minutes a day with a book is a gift I give myself. It may not seem like much, but to those minutes add up. They refill my cup. In a busy world, protecting that quiet time is an act of love and discipline. I guard it like a sacred ritual because it reminds me that I matter. I love giving books. It's one of the most personal things I can share. When I give someone a book, I'm handing them a piece of my heart saying, this moved me and I hope it moves you too. It's an invitation to pause, to reflect, to be cared for through story. In a way, it's my quiet way of saying, I see you, I value you, and I want you to be held by these pages. Science backs it up. Reading is good for your brain and your heart. Studies show it can lower stress, improve concentration, and help ease symptoms of depression. It's like a mental reset. When I read, I can feel my body exhale and my thoughts slow down and my mind open up. These books held me when I needed them the most. They were mirrors showing parts of me, of myself that I hadn't yet named. Others were windows, offering glimpses into the lives, struggles, and triumphs different from mine. Both helped me grow. They reminded me that I'm not alone, and they gave me new language for my own journey. This sisterhood holds me accountable to joy, to growth, and to showing up for myself. And Go On Girl Book Club is more than just a book club. It's a nationwide community with over 300 Black women, 30 chapters across the U.S., all reading the same book each month. That shared rhythm, that collective energy, that's powerful. It reminds me that I'm part of something bigger. Our club just doesn't just read books. Honey, we elevate Black writers and readers. After each discussion, every chapter completes a thoughtful questionnaire that becomes a letter to the editor and the publisher, so they know what we think of the book. We honor authors with awards that uplift the next generation through scholarship for college students. Reading is at the heart of my wellness. It grounds me, restores me, and brings me joy. But it's a piece of a bigger intentional self-care system. For me, self-care also includes journaling, lighting candles, setting boundaries, and surrounding myself with affirmations that speak life into me. In closing, let reading be your refuge and your revolution. Turn the page on stress, burnout, and silence. In every chapter, find space to breathe, to heal, to grow. Let the words remind you that you are seen, you are valued, and you are not alone. Because in stories that reflect us, we find our truth and our power. Thank you.
Gotta get to the right page. Our fifth presenter, Deb Schmidt-Rogers, DSR to many, exactly, is the Senior Director of the Office of Residential Experience at Northwestern University. She has held leadership roles at Loyola University Chicago, DePaul University, and institutions in the Washington, D.C. area. A lifelong housing professional, Deb is a past president of ACUHO-I and Parthenon recipient. Deb has engaged with student housing globally, including in Australia, South Africa, Italy, and the UK. She holds a BS in biology and a master's in education in counseling psychology from Loyola Chicago. When Deb agreed to do the sprint session, a little reluctantly, she asked herself and countless members of her personal network, do I really have anything left to say after all this time? For anyone who has had the pleasure of working for Deb, myself included, you know that the answer to this question is always yes. She does. Through the help of her network, many of you here, Deb is excited to share some of her professional philosophies and the impact they have had on her storied career. Please join me in welcoming Deb Schmidt-Rogers to the Sprint stage.
So let's get one thing straight. I have a perspective. Ask anyone with whom I've ever worked and they will tell you, Deb is old school, she's a baby boomer who believes almost like every stereotype you might have heard. She likes structure, she likes loyalty, she will tell you the truth, even when it hurts. So today I want to tell you what lessons I have consistently, apparently, talked about over the last 40 years. I know some of them easily, but I figured I should ask those who know my work life best. Here is what they told me that they learned from me, sometimes also reluctantly. Be brilliant at the basics in order to do and be better at the beyond. You cannot be successful without the basics, and I am hard-pressed to respond to your ask to do more or different work if the basics don't work. I can't put you on that passion project if you are behind on your caseload. Invest in your people. The spirit of care is reciprocated, a balance of relationship and accountability. Balance both listening professionally and acting personally. Ensure your folks feel cared for. Empower your team as colleagues. Okay, I really can sing, but I will spare you today. I probably need several slides for this. You have to be honest with the hard stuff as well as the good stuff. Too many folks are hesitant to be honest for fear of being called out for offending or canceled. You can't waver from that commitment. Feedback is a gift. Mary Catherine, with permission, told me that my sharing of the truth was more important than her comfort. Now, in that moment, she shared that accountability was super hard, and she took them years to see and now adopt. The best growth typically happens when you are uncomfortable. I was gifted this book by someone I supervised, White Women, Everything You Already Know About Your Own Racism and How to Do Better. You think I was maybe a little uncomfortable, and dang, did I grow. I don't think crying is bad. I cry often in the workplace, and yes, I have made others cry in one-on-ones. Tears are really not the taboo that you think they are, unless they are my white women tears, and you better call me out. Balance is relative. I don't believe in work-life balance. Sometimes my family gets all the energy, and sometimes my employer gets all the energy. Over the course of my career, it has balanced out with the help of solid decisions and living my values. In my heart and my head, I am not storied. Thank you, Amanda. I am not an award winner, and don't put me on a pedestal. In order of the time spent, frankly, I'm a caregiver. I am a grieving daughter and sister. I'm an Oma, I'm an educator, I am a liberal woman of faith, I'm a mom, a sister, and a friend. You need to know your why. My personal and my professional persona are the same. It takes too much energy to look in the mirror and see someone I am not. I know that I have many privileges that permit me to say that. I really do. Let it go, own it, apologize for it, and move on. When a colleague wrote this lesson to me, I have to admit that personally I was super proud that they learned. Let it go, own it, apologize for it, and move on. Share the pie, or bake, really bake. In the summer, I bake a pie every single Saturday with Farmers Market Bounty. But this is a metaphor for many things. The pie can be sliced smaller to make sure that everyone gets a piece. It can be shared or it can be gifted. So step back and make a place. Opportunities will come along, and how life-changing can they be? When you are brilliant at the basics, then you can say yes. For me, it was international travel. Our partners abroad are so innovative and resilient. We have much to learn. Sometimes it's okay to be in the weeds. You need to understand the weeds to get out of the weeds, or you can literally pull them. I cannot stand weeds on move-in day, so the week before, I walk campus, these are my actual gloves, and I pull weeds. First impressions matter. Pull the weeds. Live your values through every single interaction and decision that you make. I will name the person who said that this is the lesson they learned from me. Edwin Darrell, whom I adore, said that I taught him, you can't do your best work if you are not your authentic self. Center the student experience. On my whiteboard for years, I wrote the sentence, the priority is the student experience. Every day you should be asking if what you are suggesting benefits students, because that's why I hired you. Figured I had to live by my honesty thing. Apparently I have mentored some folks with drink the second glass of wine. And know your shield moment. I have had an envelope in every job that I have had that says why I would leave the job without another job. Know your shield moment. Yes, I do say this word at work pretty often, but time, place, and manner are critical. Colloquial speech is important to my identity, but the ability to discern when, where, and why is equally important. And finally, being keenly aware of my privilege, my sentence has always been, vulnerability leads to trust, trust leads to relationships, and relationships lead to everything good in the world. And so mostly, I mentor to build relationships, deep, abiding relationships. Thank you.
Our final presenter, Vinnie Brickenmeyer, he, him, is the Director of Residential Life for Pace University Pleasantville's campus in New York, as well as an adjunct professor in political science and an accomplished training facilitator. Vinny is deeply committed to the work of the campus housing profession, serving in multiple roles within ACUHO-I, the ACUHO-I Foundation, and the ACUHO. He is passionate about many areas of our work, including social justice, strengths-based leadership, the intersection of public policy and campus housing, implementing residential curriculum, and mentoring emerging leaders in our field. Vinny and his husband Gabriel are also new dog dads to their puppy Milo. His journey with Milo was one of his inspirations for his sprint talk today. As Vinny took on his new role as dog dad, he began to recognize striking similarities to lessons he has learned as a supervisor. Please welcome Vinny Birkenmeyer to the stage for his sprint session, 5 Things I Learned as a New Dog Dad I Wish I Had Known as a New Supervisor.
Hello, ACUHO-I. I'm so excited to be here with you. Do we have any dog lovers in the audience? Oh, good, excellent. Do we have anyone who has supervised people before? Perfect. My name is Vinny Birkenmeyer, and I've been a supervisor for 14 years and a dog dad for much less time than that. So today, we are going to talk about 5 things I've learned as a new dog dad I wish I knew as a new supervisor. I was having a little writer's block with my first topic, looked down from my desk, saw an adorable puppy looking up at me, and thought, you know what we all need right now? 6 minutes of cute puppy pictures on loop behind me with a few helpful tips sprinkled in. Hard to admit in some crowds, but I've never considered myself a dog person. So how did we get here talking about being a dog dad in front of, a few hundred people? Well, a few days before leaving for Milwaukee last year, my now husband Gabriel and I decided we were going to elope the day I got back from Campus Home Live. Thank you. We called my mom on the way to the airport. I ordered our wedding rings in the TSA line. So everything went as planned, and our anniversary is on Thursday. My husband then took on the Herculean task of convincing me that next step was to get a puppy. So he sent every cute dog picture the internet had and every TikTok about how easy it is to train a puppy. On January 4th, we found ourselves driving out to Long Island to adopt the cutest little addition to our family, who we named Milo. Now, my supervision journey started well before that and was like many of yours. I supervised RAs, then graduate assistants, and eventually assistant and associate directors who are true rock stars in this field. I would also be remiss without shouting out some past supervisors I had who are in the audience today: Ryan Young from Temple University, Matt Landau from Purchase College, and Dr. Sherry Crandall of the University of Georgia. Supervising has been a constant favorite of my career since day one, with, of course, some tough lessons learned along the way. And what a weird field we're in, that in your first job, you might be supervising 4, 6, 10, 20 people, our RAs. In many other fields, you are certainly not supervising on the first day of your entry-level role. And while we may have robust training and hopefully lots of support, it is a true roller coaster. So I hope these tips that I learned as a new dog dad can help you as a supervisor. And if not, just sit back and enjoy these cute pictures of Milo. Tip number 1. Sometimes you need a long leash, and sometimes you need a short leash. This is a tricky balance, especially as a new RD who came from being rock star RA number 1 at your undergrad institution, and now you might be supervising some RAs who are not all rock star number 1. And this is a huge learning moment for many of us. Finding that appropriate balance of when to let someone run with a project versus when we need to be more directly involved is a critical lesson to learn as a new supervisor. It is a dynamic relationship that ebbs and flows, just like there are times I keep Milo close to me on a crowded sidewalk, and sometimes I let the leash go a little further so he can chase every leaf that falls off the tree. Tip number 2, we do not all communicate in the same way. Learning how to communicate effectively in a supervising relationship involves understanding your communication style as well as those you are supervising. This is not a one-way street. Now, Milo reminds me of this with his side eyes, his nonverbals, and his barks anytime a stranger walks by. Your way of communicating is not the only way just because you are the supervisor. That being said, if a supervisee barks at you in a one-on-one, I would encourage you to follow your campus wellness response protocols. Tip number 3, every once in a while, we are going to wake up to a pile of crap we were not expecting. In many ways, the stressful parts of our year are cyclical, though. Let's do what we can as supervisors to make sure our cups are full so we are prepared to respond in those tough moments. It's equally as important that we have systems in place to help ourselves and our teams when those unexpected difficulties come up. We've been blessed that Milo does not leave us too many piles of surprises, but like any good housing professional, I stay ready. Tip number 4, best practices and theories on supervision are important, but sometimes we all just need a treat or a short walk. Milo's 2 favorite things. Sometimes a one-on-one involves a life-altering conversation that changes the trajectory of a supervisee's life. And sometimes it's just a one-on-one. We also might find supervisors who become mentors, and some that don't. That's okay. Remembering that sometimes we just need a chance to get outside or share a simple moment together can take a lot of pressure off us as supervisors. Tip number 5, multiple things can be true at the same time. Milo might love me with all of his heart, and he might eat my favorite shoe that same morning. Now, if a supervisee eats one of your shoes, that may lead to an interesting performance evaluation. But we must avoid lumping our team together into these restrictive and extreme categories. Someone might be administratively strong and struggle connecting with students. Someone else might be having a bad day and still love their job. Remember that big picture and that we are all complicated beings. Now, I hope after these last few minutes, you are inspired to think critically about who you are as a supervisor, or to adopt a new puppy on your way home. I hope I have left you with some helpful tips, but most importantly, I leave you with these pictures of other people's puppies who were sent to me on Instagram, because while this conference and this association are many things, what it means most to me is finding joy amongst all of you. Thank you.